The new federal housing law. What it really means for Rhode Island. A major new housing bill has just become law in Washington. And depending on which headline you read, you may think this bill is going to solve the housing crisis. Stop Wall Street from buying homes, make housing affordable again, and create thousands of new homes. But is that really what's going to happen? And more importantly, what does this law actually mean for home buyers, sellers, homeowners, landlords, and renters here in Rhode Island? Today, I'm going to break it down without the political spin, without the legal language, and without pretending that one bill is going to magically fix everything. I'm Jeff St. Germain with the St. Germain Real Estate Group here in Rhode Island, and this is the straight talk version of the new federal housing law. The official name is the 21st Century Road to Housing Act. ROAD stands for Renewing Opportunity in the American Dream. It became law on July 11, 2026, after receiving unusually strong bipartisan support in Congress. And that tells you something important. Housing affordability has become such a serious national problem that Republicans and Democrats actually agreed that something had to be done. The bill contains dozens of different provisions. But from a practical real estate perspective, most of it comes down to four major goals. Build more housing, reduce delays and red tape, make financing and home repairs easier in certain situations, and give individual home buyers a better chance against large institutional investors. Now, let's take these one at a time. Number one, building more housing. The biggest idea behind this law is really quite simple. America does not have enough homes. And Rhode Island certainly does not have enough homes. When there are more buyers and renters than available properties, prices rise, rents rise, and people are forced to compete over a very, very limited supply. This new law attempts to encourage more construction by helping communities update zoning, streamline permitting, increase inspection capacity, and coordinate housing development with transportation and infrastructure. It also allows certain federal community development funds to be used directly for new affordable housing construction. That could be useful here in Rhode Island because we have many communities where housing proposals can spend years moving through planning, zoning, permitting, environmental review, and public opposition. The law also creates financial incentives for communities that increase housing production. In plain English, communities that make it easier to build may receive additional federal support. Communities that continually fall behind on housing production could potentially receive less support from certain programs. That is a major philosophical change. Washington is no longer saying, we would like you to build more housing. It is beginning to connect federal assistance with actual housing production. Now, the high side, this could encourage towns and cities to update outdated rules, improve their approval processes, and make reasonable housing projects easier to complete. That could eventually create more apartments, condominiums, starter homes, accessory dwelling units, and smaller scale housing. The low side, the federal government cannot simply order every Rhode Island community to approve more housing. Most zoning decisions are still going to be controlled locally. And as anyone involved in Rhode Island real estate knows, every community has its own zoning rules and planning processes, infrastructure concerns, and political pressures. Federal incentives may help, but they will not eliminate local resistance. And even when a development is approved, it can still take years before these homes are built and ready for someone to occupy. So this is not an immediate inventory solution. Number two, cutting red tape. The law also tries to reduce some of the federal reviews and administrative requirements that can delay some of the federally supported housing projects. That includes changes to certain environmental review procedures. Now, environmental protections are important, especially here in Rhode Island. We are the ocean state. We have wetlands, coastal areas, flood zones, historic districts, conservation land, and communities where development must be handled carefully. But federal reviews can sometimes overlap with state and local reviews, adding considerable time and cost to a project. This new law allows more responsibility to be delegated to state, local, and tribal governments and expands the categories of housing activity that may receive a more streamlined review. The high side? Time is money in construction. Every additional month a builder spends waiting for approvals can increase carrying costs, interest expenses, legal costs, engineering fees, and ultimately the price of the finished home. Reducing unnecessary duplication could help some projects move forward faster and at a lower cost. The low side, streamlining is not the same as affordability. A project can be approved more quickly and still produce expensive housing. The cost of land, labor, lumber, insurance, utilities, financing, and construction will still influence the final price. And in Rhode Island, developable land is limited. We cannot assume that faster approvals will automatically produce homes that an average first-time buyer can afford. There must still be serious attention paid to what is being built, where it is being built, and who will realistically be able to afford it. Number 3, limiting large institutional investors. This is probably the part of the law that will receive the most attention. The new law restricts certain large institutional investors from purchasing additional single-family homes. The restriction generally targets organizations that directly or indirectly own at least 350 single-family homes. The idea is to prevent enormous investment groups from competing against families who are simply trying to buy a place to live. The high side? Most buyers would agree that an ordinary family should not have to compete against a multi-billion-dollar investment fund with cash, automated purchasing systems, and the ability to buy homes by the hundreds. The new restriction sends an important message. Single-family homes should be primarily available to people and families, not simply accumulated as investment assets by enormous corporations. The low side? This provision probably will not have a dramatic effect on most Rhode Island transactions. Institutional ownership is a much larger issue in parts of the South, Southwest, and Midwest, where large investors have purchased entire groups of similar suburban homes. Rhode Island has an older, more varied housing stock, smaller neighborhoods, fewer large-scale subdivisions, and a limited number of available single-family homes. Most of the investors Rhode Island buyers compete with are more likely to be local builders, small landlords, flippers, or individual cash buyers, not companies owning thousands of homes nationally. The law also contains exceptions, including provisions involving homes that are specifically built for the rental market. So while this provision may help nationally, Rhode Island buyers should not expect dozens of additional homes to suddenly appear because Wall Street has left the market. Number 4, home repairs, ADUs, and manufactured housing. Another important part of the bill involves financing alternatives. The law updates certain federal loan programs for property improvements, manufactured housing, multifamily housing, and accessory dwelling units, commonly known as ADUs. That could be easily relevant here in Rhode Island. We have one of the oldest housing stocks in the country. Many homes need roofs, electrical upgrades, heating systems, lead remediation, accessibility improvements, septic work, or major structural repairs. The law also creates or expands support for programs that may offer grants or forgivable loans for whole home repairs. The high side? Keeping an existing home safe and habitable is often less expensive than building an entirely new home. Helping an older homeowner repair a property can allow that person to remain in the home longer. Helping someone create a legal accessory dwelling unit could provide housing for an aging parent, an adult child, a caregiver, or a long-term tenant. Manufactured and factory-built homes may also provide lower-cost alternatives in communities where they are permitted. The low side? The law does not hand every homeowner a repair check. Many provisions require federal agencies to create programs, issue regulations, or award grants, or work through state and local governments. Eligibility requirements will apply. Funding will be limited, and some programs may take considerable time before Rhode Island homeowners can actually access them. This is one of the most important things to understand about the entire bill. Becoming law is not the same as becoming immediately available. What this bill does not do, now let's talk about what the law doesn't do. It does not lower mortgage rates. Mortgage rates are affected by inflation, the bond market, Federal Reserve policy, economic expectations, and investor demand. Congress cannot simply pass a law requiring 3% mortgages. The law also does not give every first-time buyer down payment assistance. It does not create nationwide rent control. It does not force sellers to reduce their prices. It does not eliminate property taxes, homeowners insurance, or condominium fees. And it does not immediately solve homelessness or create enough deeply affordable housing for every low-income household that needs it. In fact, the legislation specifically states that it does not authorize unlimited new money for every provision. A substantial part of the bill involves changing rules, modernizing existing programs, encouraging local reform, and using current resources more effectively. That may be good policy, but it is not a giant blank check. What does this mean for Rhode Island buyers? If you are hoping this bill will make homes dramatically cheaper next month, that is highly unlikely. Rhode Island's median home price has recently been around $500,000, $525,000. We still have limited inventory and strong demand, high construction costs, and many homeowners with older, low-interest mortgages who are just reluctant to sell. Those conditions will not disappear because this bill was enacted. Over time, however, buyers could benefit if the law helps communities approve more starter homes, condominiums, manufactured homes, ADUs, and smaller multifamily properties. The key phrase is over time. This is primarily a housing supply bill, not an immediate buyer rebate bill. What does it mean for sellers? Very little will change immediately. The property value will still depend on location, condition, demand, inventory, comparable sales, financing conditions, and how effectively the property is marketed. If additional housing is eventually built, buyers may have more choices. But Rhode Island has accumulated a significant housing shortage over many years. A modest increase in new construction is unlikely to suddenly flood the market or cause established neighborhoods to lose value. Well-located and properly maintained homes should continue to attract attention. What does it mean for landlords and renters? Renters may benefit if more apartments and accessory units are eventually created. More supply can reduce some of the pressure that causes rents to rise. The law also contains protections connected with certain federally assisted properties and creates a resource to help tenants living in homes owned by large institutional investors. For small Rhode Island landlords, the biggest opportunities may involve financing repairs, preserving older properties, or legally creating additional housing. But again, the specific programs and eligibility rules will determine how useful those opportunities actually become. Here's my honest assessment. So is this a good bill? From a real estate perspective, I would call it a meaningful step, but it's not a miracle. The strongest part of the law is that it recognizes the central problem. We need more housing. It tries to encourage construction, improve financing, preserve existing homes, modernize federal programs, and reduce unfair competition from enormous institutional investors. Those are legitimate positives. But the law does not directly solve high mortgage rates, it does not immediately lower home prices, and it still relies heavily on states, municipalities, lenders, developers, housing agencies, and local communities to turn federal policies into actual homes. That is where the real test begins. A housing bill should not be judged by how many pages it contains or how many politicians supported it. It should be judged by how many safe, attainable homes are actually created and preserved. And here in Rhode Island, we should be watching three things. Are communities approving a wider variety of housing? Are these programs helping repair and preserve the homes we already have? And most importantly, are ordinary Rhode Islanders actually gaining realistic opportunities to buy or rent a home? That is how we'll know whether the law is producing results or simply producing another round of promising effort. I'm Jeff St. Germain with the St. Germain Real Estate. Whether you are buying, selling, downsizing, investing, or simply trying to understand what is happening in the Rhode Island housing market, my goal is to give you the honest information without the hype. If you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who's trying to understand today's housing market. For a free buyer guide, send me a message with the word home. For a personalized estimate of your property's current value, comment or message me with the word value. And if you're just considering making a move, you can always schedule a free, no-pressure strategy conversation. Hey, let's make your next move the right move.